Good evening, everyone. This is Hannah Klein. Welcome to my podcast, Hannah Klein's Time. Before starting my podcast, please download my podcast from the platform you use. Now you're able to listen to my podcast on YouTube too. I just released it just recently. Please sign up for my newsletter from my homepage, officialhannahklein.com. You could also follow me on social media like Instagram, Facebook, or X. I often update X, if you could follow me on X, then just follow me. Well, today's guest, as I posted on my X account and some other social media posts, is retired Reserve Colonel Zamir. I asked him about the new operation, the Operation Gideon Chariot. Well, this operation just started. I'm not sure what people are thinking. And I cannot tell the absolute solution for any matters. Especially, I do not want to humiliate the hostages' families. But at the same time, it's not about humiliation, but it comes to what sovereignty right is. And I'm not Jewish, but I would start to ask myself what sovereignty means, and at the same time, I also wonder how the political ideology should be stated. And the case of Operation Chariot itself. Okay, he does not want to mention any particular case for today, and he would like to talk about the general opinions, and at the same time about the current opinion operation as well. But yes, but we would discuss this yesterday, and it's not today. So, but anyway, from a long-term span, I will talk about Muslim Brotherhood in other episode, but I decided to because there are just too many misunderstandings about this too. But over the course of the time, Israel endured all these terrorist attacks countless times, and Israel did counterterrorism activities over the time for decades. And Israel had ceasefire with Hamas under the pressure of the West. And I would say some prior administration of the United States as well. But I will talk about the U.S. administration's pressure, political problems, all these things later. But I think that October 7th, people tend to forget about it because the media want you to forget about it. They never talk about it. Okay, we get panicked with just one. For example, one stabbing of the people in the middle of the station just today, that happened today. Of course we do. I mean, what happens if it were 1,300 people getting terror attacked, raped, had their eyes gushed out, alive, okay? Or burned alive in front of people? I mean, those footages, Hamas sent them to the families of the victims. I'm really sorry for the hostages, really, honestly. I mean, I do not mean it, but I hope that uh, I would say I at least as a person who have friends who have who are military service members and well who fall into other categories but still are related to military service members. Um, there are a lot to say, and I hope that you listen to our conversation. So good morning, I
Good
guess,
morning,
right?
Yoko. How are you?
I'm kind of good. I didn't sleep well last night. Yeah.
Okay. Hope it will improve this night.
Well, I cannot probably because
Okay.
there's loads of like I have to pack a lot of tops and toys.
Okay.
I promise to send them
Okay.
like tonight. Well,
That's okay.
tomorrow. So like
Mhm.
tomorrow, like FedEx is gonna come and pick up the boxes. So I don't know what's gonna happen.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So how was like your Yom Hazikazan and your Independence
Mhm.
Day? Like
Yeah, Yom HaZikaron is the Memorial Day in
mm-hmm,
which the nation comes and memorizes both the soldiers that died
mm-hmm,
uh, throughout the years, the victims of the terrorists attacks all over the
mm-hmm.
world, and those that fought in the underground and in the battalions that we supplied to the British in World War II and World War One.
Oh, so
Because we
it's not
started
just
fighting
the
alongside the
civilians
British.
and
It's
okay. So
it's
it's not
it's all
just
of them. It's
mm-hmm,
all of them.
it's
We
not
had a
uh-huh,
battalion that fought in Gallipoli
mm-hmm,
in World War One. Uh,
yeah.
Joseph Trumpeldor was the deputy commander of that battalion.
Mm-hmm,
He's a famous hero in Israel. And then we fought through the brigade in World War II, the Jewish brigade.
mm-hmm,
And then, of course, we had all the Independence War and all other wars, including the current war. And we memorize and we bring about the memory of them. There
mm-hmm,
is a siren that goes for 2 minutes, that everybody stops and stands still um, for 2 minutes to remember the price that we had to pay.
mm-hmm,
And then we have ceremonies all over the country, in the cemeteries mainly, and
mm-hmm,
then go to other homes and all that. And in combat units, a lot of the commanders and the troops and everyone goes to the houses of those from that unit that fell. Um, and then on a sudden break at 8 o'clock in the evening,
mm-hmm,
of course, by the way, in Memorial Day, nothing is open. You can't find restaurants, you can't find cinemas or
okay.
anything. The country is mourning.
Mm-hmm,
And at 8 o'clock in the evening, it changes from Memorial Day to Independence Day. And then the celebration starts to show that the celebration is only there because of the sacrifice that has been made. And we
mm-hmm,
celebrate the Independence Day. There are official, all kind of official ceremonies of that. And then throughout the day, a lot of people go, usually friends are gathering and
mm-hmm.
having a barbecue.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the
So it's
Israeli
like
national sport. So,
mhm.
for example, we had like 24 guests coming to our house, to the garden, and we hosted a big
Yeah, you
barbecue
were
for
saying you were busy. Yeah,
6 or 7 hours.
yeah.
Yeah, 6 6 hours. So you cook, you smoke, and it's a lot of fun and drinks and all that. And that is the memorial. And right next to it, okay, once that one stops, the second later
Mm.
later, it's the Independence Day. And that was the 77th Independent Day of Israel.
Yes.
And for us, the Jewish people, independence means a lot, not something that we've been used to for many years. So it really means a lot for us.
Well, see, like, one of the reasons I asked you to, talk about this is that, it's not just, Israel, but, I mean, Japan is not there, to be independent, obviously. I mean, we
Hmm.
have to defend our nations, like, in any countries. And, I think that, um, I think that it's important for the young generations to understand what that means in a sense. So, I mean,
In Israel,
a
it's
lot of,
quite obvious to them.
young people are very scared of like going to the wars, like compared with, and I'm not sure, what's the statistics of, Israel, but uh, I would say that, if people talk about Taiwan, for example, like take
Hmm.
Taiwanese case, there's only one choice left for Japan, either to fight for the territory or just surrender. I mean, in any, it's the,
Look,
I mean,
in
so.
Israel,
Mm-hmm,
everybody, the young generation, most of them, I wouldn't say everybody,
mm-hmm,
most of them understands what's at stake. Independence on one hand, and fighting on the other hand. And if you are not willing to fight, you will not retain your independence.
mm-hmm,
A nation unwilling to pay with the blood of his sons and daughters
mm-hmm,
will never retain its independence, period. No matter what nation, no matter under what circumstances, you have to make a sacrifice because that's the way humanity is. Humanity always, if been engaged in wars, people
mm-hmm.
want to take what's yours and they want to enslave you. And if you don't resist, that's what will happen.
Yeah.
So this is the way
Well,
that it works. You can't change that. Okay?
I know an officer, from self-defense forces, and he's pretty much like that. Yeah, really.
No,
He's pretty much determined about that.
that's the
So,
truth. And in Israel, the young
yes.
generation is exposed to that because it's exposed to the military action and it is exposed to the enemy and it
Hmm.
is exposed to what the enemy has done and
Hmm.
what he's doing and how he's fighting and all that.
Hmm.
And therefore, they do understand that and they do understand the connection. The vast majority, I would say.
Okay.
Of course, there are always those that think differently. In Japan, because the threat is not imminent,
Mm.
then they look upon things in a different way. Either they feel threatened, I would assume that the Japanese behavior would have been different. Because I've read
Mm.
the Fushida and others who wrote about World War II being Navy pilots, being others, and it seems to me that they understood what's at stake and they understood what they need to do for their country. So that was really
Yeah, that's true.
obvious.
Yeah, that is very true, what you say. And, I hope that, those people who listen to from, like to this conversation from
Mhm.
Japan. I don't know who they are, but I hope that they understand what it means to be independent. And we need to be independent from China.
I hope so too. I hope so too.
Yeah.
But I can't be sure. But that's okay. We are speaking to the audience that wants to listen, not to the audience that doesn't want to listen. So
Okay, that's true. Okay, so um a lot of okay, well, I'm not sure about, okay, just let's put the media aside. What do you think of the operations in Gaza and the new chief of staff
well,
with the same
uh,
last name?
No, these are two different things.
Yeah.
The new chief of staff is a
Mm.
guy that, although he has the same last name as I am, we are not
I
related.
know.
Okay, so I don't know. He when he first spoke, he spoke very good as a general. He
Hmm.
will be judged by his deeds, not by his talks. He has
Hmm.
just started. We have to give him the grace of time
Yes.
to see how he leads the army, how he commands things, what he does.
Hmm.
And plus, I don't want to talk about specific persons because I don't think that that's ever the
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
issue.
that's true.
The
Okay.
issue is
Hmm.
always the what's at stake. Now,
Hmm.
when you look at Gaza, you need to start from the high level and understand that you're talking about something that will have an impact globally. Why am I saying that?
Hmm.
So far, the what we call left wing, I don't know whether it's the good name or not, but
Hmm.
those that think that terror cannot be defeated military wise. They
Okay.
think that with terror, you have to come to some understandings and give them some of the things they want, and that would put an end to that. That exists in Israel and that exists all over the world. It's not a patent that we have had. A lot of nations around the world would say, okay, let's make a deal with this terrorist or the others. Why? Because terror the ideology is something you cannot defeat military.
Mm.
If we go to the current operation in Gaza, which I will at least state what the state of Israel is saying openly and publicly on that, that means that we can show the world that there is a military forcible solution to the question of terror. And terror can be defeated. And
Mm.
if terror can be defeated in Gaza, it can be defeated anywhere.
Yeah.
And therefore, you don't need to discuss all kinds of solutions. For example, in Israel, the two-state solution came about because a lot of Israelis said, look, we want a Jewish country. We want the majority to be Jewish, and
Mm.
we cannot solve the problem of the terrorists. So let's get a compromise. A compromise that means, okay, we split the land. What they didn't understand is that this is not the issue. This is not what the other side wants. The other side simply wants you not to be there and not to exist.
Mhm.
So, but if you show them the terror can be defeated militarily,
Mm.
that would be something that would have a sort of impact all over the world, not just in Israel and not just in the West Bank and not just it will have an impact all over the world. Now, the government of Israel has decided that it has a priority. They want to destroy Hamas militarily and as a governing power.
Mm.
These things have been there from day one of this war.
Mhm.
They want to prevent any future threat from the Gaza Strip. They want to bring back the deterrence and to release the hostages.
Mm.
These are the goals that the Israeli government has put forward. The current operation that is still going on,
Mhm.
which has a name, and names are coming from a computer in the IDF. He
Mm.
brings the names. So the current operation was designed to lay pressure on Hamas to release hostages. Apparently, it did not work. He did not release hostages. So
Yeah.
right now, we understand that we need something else. Now, what is something else? Something else means you need to lay pressure, which will be very hard,
Mhm.
including, you know, a lot of strikes and fighting and not allowing Hamas to give the humanitarian aid to anyone, but we will give the humanitarian aid and so on and so forth. So what is happening right now is that we are trying to set forth all the preliminary conditions for such an operation, such a big
Mhm.
operation. And what do I mean by preliminary conditions? First of all, we need ammunition. So we are getting from the United States all the things that we need in order to do that. The second thing, we need to make sure that we have enough to maintain the operation for as long as those that are planning it
Mhm.
believe that it would take, and some more, because you always need a buffer. I don't know what is the operation that they are currently suggesting. I do know that it is going to be that, because that was published, conquering, not raiding, but conquering at least parts of the Gaza Strip. Conquering means you take the land, you occupy it, and you have your army there to stay, not to go back. You occupy. This is something we haven't done so far in this war. We just made raids. We came in, we did what we did, we came out, we came in, came out. This is going to change. At least that's what they are saying. They are going to concentrate all the civilian population, which is another precondition to launch a massive attack. You need to take all the so-called innocent, let's call them civilian population, women, children, elderly, whatever,
Mhm.
put them in one place, and in that place the army needs to give them all kind of humanitarian aid, food, medicines, medical care, whatever.
Mhm.
This is important not just because you want to be human, but also if you want to prevent pressure coming on you from the outside, from the world, that you will not be able to sustain. So you have to have that as a release of pressure that is going to come upon you, and because you don't want to kill innocent people just because of the sake of killing. If that is a price that has to be paid as collateral damage, then yes, you do that. But this is not the aim. The aim is to really defeat Hamas as a military organization that cannot rule. So taking all the population to one place and taking care of its humanitarian needs there by the Israeli army
Mhm.
means that you have denied Hamas from being in power. It's no longer the ruler. He no longer controls the resources. So only by that you achieve one of the goals of the war. And that allows you to achieve the other one, and that is to destroy him militarily by a massive offense,
Mhm.
okay, that you should launch.
Well, one
That
thing.
would also bring
Mhm.
about the deterrence.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
please.
please. No, no, please.
Okay. Well, I was reading about proportionate, this thing, this, issue that, the media has been talking about. That,
Mhm,
I pretty much understood from like yesterday's report. I think that is very clear enough for people that,
mhm,
it's ultimately about the decisions, like, how the decisions were made, is important, when it comes to like the military operation. So, I mean, so I
What do
mean,
you mean?
I'm not sure, at what level, the people try to understand the war, but when people in general, like, I'm not sure, how many of the Japanese people are listening to this, but um they cannot talk about like um like the casualty number, for example. Like take it for example. This is a supposed number, and at the same time,
Mhm.
just take the operation, on the balance, on the same, balance, and say, which is which, because this is something ultimately we cannot say something. So,
No.
you know,
Look, the IDF, the
mhm,
IDF right now,
mhm,
according to foreigners, not according to the IDF
mhm,
data, but according to foreigners from the British Army, from the American Army, from the German Army,
mhm,
has the best, and by best I mean the lowest amount of, let's say,
yeah, the ratio, right?
civilian,
Yeah.
the ratio, yeah, the ratio between terrorist killed and collateral damage, they have the best ratio in the world right now, the IDF. by far better than any other army that has fought under not even similar circumstances, but way better circumstances. Okay? The Americans have not been able to do better, and they haven't been in a place like Gaza. The British haven't been able to do that. The Germans haven't been able to do that. No army has been able to do that. So the IDF is a professional army that inflicting power or force is not done randomly. There is a control. The whole system of inflicting power is controlled from the top to the bottom. There are orders, there are regulations, there are procedures, there are ways of doing that, there are ways of verifying. There is a whole system of decisions that is put in place, and it's not just like, some IDF crazy guys are going there killing everyone they want. If you want to launch an airstrike, there is a procedure to do that. There is a method how it's being done, how you verify the targets, how you really incriminate them. All that has been put in place a long time ago and has been yielding very good results compared to any other modern army from the Western countries. I'm not talking about Russia or Ukraine, which are a different story altogether, way worse than we are, because contrary to the Hamas, Israel has never targeted civilian population. Civilian population has been sometimes a collateral damage, I would admit that, but it was never the target. The target was always Hamas, whereas the Hamas has been targeting the Israeli civilians, not the Israeli army, mostly. The second thing, the Hamas is the only army that when he fights on civilian clothing, and only when it's not fighting, it goes and wear uniform. You have to understand the entire issue of the Geneva Convention started after World War I and got developed throughout the years. The whole issue of that is irrelevant when you go to fight terrorists. That was something that was created for fighting between nations, civilized nation, European nations, whatever. And then you have something that you wanted to maintain because of all kinds of things that developed at that time, like the air raids and so on. Here you're talking about something entirely different. There is a terrorist organization that hasn't taken the Gazans into captivity. The Gazans brought him democratically to power. They want him, they identify with him, they support him, and therefore that's what giving Hamas the ability to stay in power. So saying that usually does not justify, according to the international law, any attack on these civilians. And that's why Israel is trying to bring them out of harm's way. The right way to do that, according to the international law, would have been to evacuate them to Egypt. Egypt is the place where you should have taken them. Egypt is unwilling to fulfill its duty under the international law because Egypt is, although we have a peace agreement, by nature a hostile entity to Israel, and the Egyptian people doesn't want us to exist. So that is the major problem. So once we have done that, we will have to strike and bring all that. Now, we have a few clocks ticking and trying, and these clocks are pressuring us to do that. There is the pressure of the hostages. Everybody in Israel wants the hostages. And that is something they are saying their time is running out, their time is doing that. It's like a sand clock with a certain pace of sand drops. May it be high or low is a different question, but this is one. The other one is the reserve army. Most of the Israeli force is reserve army. It's not the regular army. Most of the force is reserve army. Reserve army means you take men. Yeah, you take what?
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying reserve army means you take the girls and the boys from whatever they are doing students working, anything they are doing, raising their families, their small children and everything, because they are at the age of having small kids, and take them to the army in order to fulfill a mission. Now, we used to have a policy that Ben Gurion stated that we need to finish conflicts fast. Why? Because when you take all these people out of what they are doing, that lays a lot of pressure on them, and that lays a lot of pressure on the economy, because now the government of Israel has to pay them their fees and everything, but they are not contributing to the GDP at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because they are doing reserve army duties. So we had a policy that said we have to finish conflicts fast, not slow, because most of our force is reserve, is not regular. Regular army can sustain a long conflict. A reserve army cannot. So this is the second pressure or sand clock that we have. The other one that we have is international. The international community is laying pressure on Israel to end the conflict, regardless of what happened on October 7th. They forgot about it. That was like a year and a half ago. We are now here. We don't want that anymore. We want you to stop. And how do you stop something? I mean, if there is an aggressor and he attacks you, if you do not retaliate, then you prevent the fight, right? You got bitten and that's it. If you retaliate, you made the fight. So stop. This is the kind of hypocrisy that we find around internationally, but we can cry over that as much as we like. It exists. And we have to take that into account when we come to discuss the timetable to achieve the goals that we set forth. The last one is internal political one. In November 2026, we are going to have elections. That's a year and a half from now. So if we are going to have an election then, I'm sure that the current government would like to end the thing with victories both in Gaza, in Syria, and in Iran.
Okay.
So that they can come to the public and show, look, although we failed miserably on October 7th, we corrected and did something good. So these are the clocks that are right now ticking all the time. Okay, they are actually ticking as we speak in order to do something. And this is something we have to take into account when we do that, and try and do the best thing possible. Now, you have to understand that each one of these clocks raises an internal debate in Israel. For example, the hostages is under a big debate. We had about 10 years ago a committee led by one of the former Supreme Court presidents to discuss how we should deal with hostages and so on. And one of the things that that committee recommended is that the decision makers would not meet with the families of the hostages because it influences you emotionally. And neither Netanyahu nor anyone else have been able to follow that. So we have all kinds of committees, all kinds of recommendations, but when it comes to the moment of truth, it doesn't work. It doesn't help us. So this is the thing. Now, the way that I see the hostages issue is that, look, hostages, much like casualties among our troops in war, is part of the price that we have to pay. A country cannot put the hostages at such high level that it also dictates its policy, its army deployment, its foreign policy. It cannot be. It cannot be, because that means that the enemy would try always to have some hostages with it. That means, by the way, another thing, that a deal saying, a lot of people are advocating that in Israel, saying, okay, release all the hostages, Okay, Hamas will release all the hostages, and we will stop fighting, and maybe in 5 years, 10 years, we will resume fighting and do that. First, Hamas are no idiots. They have shown that to us. They will never release all the hostages. They will always keep some as an insurance policy because they see that it is an insurance policy. So who gives up the insurance policy he already has? What, in order to buy a new one? No, I have this one. I'll retain it. So this is a very important issue. That is a deal that doesn't exist. We are trying to negotiate with ourselves. The second issue that is important is that would bring about the attempt to get more and more hostages, because this is what wins and prevails over Israel, and this is what neutralizes all of Israel military might, the hostages. So let's get hostages. So we are not, in my view, we have to look at the hostages, especially those remained now. We will do the best to take them out and free them through an operation. And if not, this is part of the price that we have to pay. There are troops getting killed, and there will be some hostages that will die as a result of that. Okay, that's my view. However, most of the Israeli population do not agree with me on that. Okay, a lot of people think differently. So,
But
and if you ask me, yeah,
but
go
I
ahead.
guess that, people from probably your generation,
Mhm.
you have been deployed to some military operation, right? I mean, that's
I
like,
don't see I don't see any age issue here. The young
oh, okay.
ones have people that think that way. The elderly one have people that do that. It's not not at all something that has to do with age. It has to
Mm,
do with your overall view of such conflicts and such issues.
mm.
And
Yeah, but you know what? From what I see, I don't think that Hamas is going to release all of them, as you say.
of
And
course not. Of course not.
and
Yeah,
though this weak pressure will not, like soft pressure, as people say. I mean, it's not working. And I'm
no,
I'm
it's not,
just
and it
really
will not.
sorry for the situation, but if people want them back, there's only one choice is just, what to accept what is going on.
That's your opinion and my opinion, but this is not everybody's opinion, and
Yeah.
therefore you have people debating that, much like they debate a lot of other things. So
Mm,
I don't know. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not.
mm,
That's the way it is. So you have to understand that people have different views, and
mm,
it is this related to the facts. A lot of people ignore the facts, ignore the reality, and they have their own perception, and they believe that if they just go along with that, it would settle everything and make it good. Although it's not the case, this is what they believe, and you can't change that.
okay.
So this is what is being done right now. If you ask me, what is it that we need to come to and make as a final result after we gather all this civilian population somewhere in the area of Rafah or something like that and conquer the Gaza Strip, we have to start, as we are doing now, to allow anyone who wants to go out to go out. A lot of them wants to go. Hamas did not allow them. We should allow them to go. I'm not saying deport them. I'm not saying transfer them, but I'm saying if you want to go and you're a refugee and you have a refugee certificate and Canada is willing to take you and your family and you believe that this is a good solution for you, we should allow that. We should encourage that.
Mm.
Okay? The Trump solution is a good solution because most conflicts have been solved on this planet by transferring population. So now transfer is a bad word to say, although I believe this to be a very good solution. But even without a transfer, just by allowing them willingly, Hamas did not allow them. It did not allow them by force to leave Gaza. But if they want to leave Gaza, by all means, leave Gaza. We should conquer most of the place because we cannot allow hostile population to live there. And if we see that none is left, then fine, it will remain ours. If we see that they are left, we should make sure that there is a regime there that never gets the opportunity to do what they did on October 7th.
That's that's terrible, really. And I'm not sure, you know, I don't think that 5-year ceasefire will work either. Like that has happened for at least 2005, but
Mhm.
with PLO then that has been for a long time. So I mean, people have seen a lot of atrocities, and at the same time, people like you in Israel experience
Mhm.
the terror attacks. As I have seen so many of them, like in Israel,
Yeah.
because of
Mhm.
of Hamas, and they are very good at recruiting people, and they're getting weapons from Iran. I mean,
Yeah.
this is not going to stop, really. you know. So, I'm not really
It,
sure what the best solution is, but I did not know about transferring population that effectively. But well, I have a lot of
Look,
complaints for
take Turkey.
my
Yeah,
prime minister.
Take Turkey and Greece.
Uh-huh.
At the beginning of the 20th century,
Hmm.
they exchanged, I think, over 2 million people, and it solved the problem. They are not fighting. They are not liking each other, but they are not fighting. So you have solutions like that working. The question about Gaza that everybody has to ask himself is why are these so-called liberals want to have the Gazans stay in Gaza against their own will? If they want to go, the liberal approach should be let them go if they can. If they can and if they want, they should, right?
Yeah.
No, they should stay there. Why? Because this is bad for Israel.
Mhm.
So the fact that these guys are serving as pawns and are being manipulated and everything is an entirely different issue. Right now, I'm in favor of giving everyone the choice. You want to leave Gaza? In my view, Israel should even encourage that and pay you for doing that. It would be the cheapest solution that we can think of. We pay a few $1 billion and that's it. And that's the end of it.
Mhm.
Let's hope that is what will happen. I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that this is what will happen in Gaza in order to do something good. And that would, as I told you, inflict upon the entire world because of that. So, and we can do that in spite of the international law being applied to us in a way that it is never applied to anyone else.
Mhm.
Because this is, we have a good plan to do that. So now, if you ask, yeah, the army will be judged by that, and the chief of staff will be judged by his ability to take such a plan and put it into motion and make sure that it's successful. And if that will happen, then we will be able to say that we have good military leadership and good political leadership, because this is what needs to happen.
Mhm. I see.
So
So, what do you see? So So basically, the current Operation Gideon Chariots, that's
yes,
more focused on taking the territory, I guess. Like, I'm not saying, like
No.
occupying the main thing, but to ensure the security of the places.
No, look, I'm not familiar
Mm-hmm.
with the details
Mm-hmm.
of the operation.
Okay.
And that is because I'm no longer serving and I have no need to know. And it's good that I don't know. And it's good that it's kept a secret. And even if I had known that, I wouldn't have said that on public.
Okay.
The, and the name of the operation, this
Uh-huh.
or that, and it has been that, and then changed to that, is not important.
Yeah,
The,
exactly. Yeah,
and
that's true.
also the technical details or the tactical details are irrelevant to the public in large. They are relevant to the troops that are going to execute it, but they are irrelevant to the public at large. What is
Okay.
important to the public at large is the government's
Policy.
policy as to the goals of the war and the priority that it puts to them. And the government had said, Netanyahu said it in his own voice, my priority is
Mm-hmm.
first of all to destroy Hamas military and government capabilities. That was the first thing. And to prevent any military future threat from the Gaza Strip.
Mm-hmm.
And then to release the hostages. This was the priority. Because Netanyahu understands, and in my view, rightly so, that if you want to have a chance, not that you know that and not that you can ensure that, but
Mm-hmm.
if you want to have any chance of releasing the hostages,
Mm-hmm.
you must go into an operation that would destroy Hamas. Because as long as Hamas is capable of doing something,
Mm-hmm.
he won't be able to do that. Let me explain that in a sort of a serious way.
Mm-hmm.
Assume that you took all the civilian population to that place that I've just described, that I believe is being prepared now, and you take care of their humanitarian needs there. That means you do not bring inside into the Gaza Strip, apart from that, nothing to Hamas, no water, no gas, no gasoline, no food, nothing. They will remain in the tunnels. Indeed, with them, some of the hostages. Some of the hostages, in my view, even Hamas don't know where they are. But they would remain in the tunnels and they would die of suffocation,
Mm-hmm.
of hunger,
Mm-hmm.
or alternatively, they will come out and surrender. And we should put a high price for anyone who comes and surrender and brings us a hostage alive. And the price on live ones should be very high, very high. So put millions of dollars on everyone,
Mm-hmm.
so that there will be an internal riot within Hamas ranks of people feeling that they are hungry, suffocating on one hand, but if they surrender and bring the hostages that they have with them, they're going to get many millions of dollars and will be able to live their life somewhere else around the globe happily ever after. Although they are terrorists and they should die and all that, I'm willing to give that away. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but let's do that because that's the situation that I see. How does an army collapse? An army does not collapse because its head decided. An army collapses from within. It's when the troops feel that there is no reason for them to keep on fighting, and
Oh,
they stop.
okay. Yeah.
You are there. You are saying, okay, I'm here in the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting. I'm not getting food. I don't have good air to breathe. I know that the Israelis are willing to pay me, I don't know, $5 million for every hostage. I have three of them. I, Altogether, I have $15 million. Let's cash it out. Instead of dying in the tunnel together with them, I'll cash it out, get the 15 million, take my family, and go away. That's the thing that we need to try and explain to the Hamas.
Mhm.
to get those there. But that can only happen if we control the area and if the civilian population is separated from the zones that Hamas are in and remains under Israeli control, and the IDF takes care of giving them all the humanitarian aid they need on our expense. If the world wants to contribute, fine, whatever. This is a small price to pay. But first, we need to do that. That's the important thing.
Well, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but if they were to, claim refugee status, are they going to be uh, like the traditional, Palestinian refugee status that they retained?
They all have refugee status.
Yeah, that's what.
Why do you think UNRWA was there? Why do you think the UN was there? Because they are all refugees. Under the
Okay.
UN, they are all refugees because a refugee, you have to remember, UNRWA's definition of a refugee
Yeah.
is different from the rest of the world definition. Anybody, him and his followers,
Mhm.
okay, that lived in Israel 2 years before the state of Israel was formed. So Israel was formed in 48, and therefore anyone who lived there since 46, him and all his predecessors after him are refugees. So they are refugees under the UN definition
Yeah.
of a Palestinian
So
refugee.
you mean
So
that
they
they're
can
going
claim,
under that refugee status, right?
yeah. So
Okay.
they can go anywhere in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe they'll go to Japan.
Yes, well, I'll just maybe it's um yeah, that's one thing. Well, I hope it won't happen, but like in major ways because of the
Hmm.
the issues in the population control right now.
Yeah,
Because we have a lot of people coming in from China as well for I don't know
yeah.
whatever that is. And
Well,
oh,
it's Chinese who are looking for a better place.
but like Japanese has have be people have to be able to use the fund, or for
Hmm.
example, get
Yeah.
medication, receive education, go to school,
Hmm.
all these things. So, you
Hmm.
know, we have to think about this seriously. Otherwise, we are
Hmm.
we are in trouble, really. So, yeah.
Yeah.
For that
Okay.
reason, just I would say, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. But anyway,
Okay.
so I have not been aware of the major changes in I mean, back in January, I had like a Syrian, I mean, not Syrian, but like a researcher on Syria, who talked about the
Hmm.
situation after the collapse of
Hmm.
Assad, Bashar
Yeah.
al-Assad. That was,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you think that was expected or unexpected?
Well, it was expected because of the problems that Hezbollah had. Hezbollah was one of the major forces that
Hmm.
supported Assad regime. Once Hezbollah gotten into the war with Israel,
Hmm.
it gotten weakened more and more, especially after the Beeper operation and after we have striked on them viciously. That destabilizes Hezbollah, and because of destabilization of Hezbollah,
Hmm.
then Assad regime fell and Julani regime came about. Now, the Julani regime is an unstable regime. Okay,
Hmm.
it's unstable. It is like a Daesh, ISIS, or an Al Qaeda thing.
Yeah.
Okay, who pretends to be Western. Now, if he wouldn't pretend to be Western, then the West would be against him, which is not good for him. If he pretends to be West with his face to the West, then his internal supporters are against him, and they will take him down. So if I have to gamble, Giuliani will get murdered sometime. He would not live in peace to old age. Syria is in turmoil. With your permission, I'll share. I've sent you a request to allow me to share screen. Okay, I can now share the screen. You see the screen?
I think it's, oh, okay.
You see it?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes.
Okay. Now, what you see here, you see my marking? Okay, this is the Golan Heights that Israel had. These parts that you
Sorry.
see here are parts that Israel has taken since the Assad regime has fallen. We have gone along the Hermon mountain to the very end of it. You see, it brings us very close to Damascus.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, okay.
It's
Yeah.
very close to Damascus. You see, from here, this line all the way here is 62 kilometers. You
What?
see here, we are at less than half that distance
Oh,
to
okay.
Damascus. So we are very close to Damascus. So this is what Israel is now holding.
Oh.
The green part is Syria that Giuliani holds, okay? And here, the gray part is what the Druze are controlling.
Oh.
On the south of it is Jordan. Okay? This is Jordan. Here is Israel. This is the Golan Heights and what we took from it. And we are allies with the Druze. We have an alliance with the Druze in Israel who asked that we will support their brothers Druze here. This is used to be, there used to be a Druze state once. I don't know if many people know that. It existed for about 15 years, I think all the way up to 1936, from 1920 or 21, because at that time it gotten that from the French, okay? So this is about the Jabal Druze state that used to be. They are controlling it now. We are supporting them with our air force so that they are not being struck upon, and therefore they can maintain some kind of independence. We would need to make sure that there is a corridor that would connect that gray thing to the blue thing here so that the Druze would defend our border. Okay? So we would like to somehow have a corridor and a land sequence to come to them all the way because it's important. At the north, we have the Kurds, and the Kurds are controlling right now most of the resources of Syria in terms of oil, in terms of things like that. Erdogan from Turkey is very much against them, and he was under the hope that the Giuliani regime and others will be able to strike down the Kurds. They have been unable to do that. The Kurds are now gaining independence and gaining money and gaining control. The Druze in the south are doing the same. The Giuliani part is the third part. So right now we have three different states inside Syria: the Sunni, the Kurd, and the Druze. You have another minority, that's the Alawite minority, and the Alawite minority is probably going to try and gain a part as well. The reason that we cannot connect the Druze part to the Israeli part is that most of the thing here, especially in Dara, are Sunni Muslims. Okay? So they would not give it up to the Druze. So we'll have to find a solution. Let's see what will happen. But this is the most important thing right now. And Syria is right now working against Erdogan. Look, it's a major threat here to see what's going on. Why? Israel is attacking anywhere it wants in Syria to prevent the Jews from being killed, to prevent all kind of armor, ammunition and armor coming to Lebanon, to the Hezbollah, and things like that. Once doing that, you have to understand that we have the Turkish there, together with their air defense, together with their airplanes, flying and protecting the skies of Syria. And we are flying there as well, which makes it a risky issue between us and the Turks. So far, I believe that it is the United States that is stabilizing everything. And right now, there is no willingness of Turkey to get into a military clash with Israel. But you have to understand, Turkey is going to be, if we strike upon Iran and Iran is destroyed, Turkey would take over as the new octopus that will have an arm in Syria, an arm in Iraq, an arm in Egypt, an arm in Jordan, and that is going to be the new octopus. The new octopus is going to come through Syria from Turkey, because that's what Erdogan wants. He wants the Muslim brothers to prevail because he is part of the Muslim Brotherhood. So we have to make sure that the United States, because Turkey is a member of NATO, would weaken this desire of Erdogan, and in parallel, make sure that we don't have a problem with Iran anymore being nuclear. So these are the things that are happening now in Syria. That is the issue of Syria. So Syria is a major battlefield for a lot of forces. Israel needs to maintain two things. One, the territories that allows it to defend its borders. And second, the alliance with the Druze, which is extremely important. And then the last thing, the third one, which I haven't mentioned, is, of course, to make sure that we do not get into an armed conflict with Turkey.
Yeah, that's probably important.
These are the things that we need to pay attention to in Syria, because Syria is a big issue, and it's an issue that we must address, and we need to discuss seriously.
But I did not know that it was.
Now, look at the distances. The distance from where we are right now to the edge of the Druze land is 62 kilometers here, and it is 42 kilometers here, okay, and 68 kilometers here. The size of the land of the Druze from one place to the other is about 85 kilometers, okay, and it's about 100 and something in the other direction. So they have a land with a certain size that they need to maintain. They have the military power, and if they get our support, they can survive there and be okay. We have a problem with the Druze that are in the Golan Heights. Here in the Golan Heights, we have some Druze population, which we offered them Israeli citizenship. Most of them declined because they were always thinking maybe it would harm us or harm our families in Syria. Now that the Druze here are getting independent,
Mm.
and that we and our support, maybe these guys would come together with their brothers from inside Israel and
Mm.
be on our side as well. It
No.
is a possibility. It has not happened yet, but it is a possibility that I do hope that will happen.
Mhm. So, do you expect like the Druze nation to be independent or like sustain
Well,
like, well, not exactly
right now
like
they
the
don't have a
Christian.
choice. They don't have a choice. Right now in Syria,
Hmm.
there is no functioning state.
Oh, yes.
Giuliani is not functioning because he
No.
doesn't have support, he doesn't have money. The
Mm.
money is with the Kurds. The Kurds are far away, and the Giuliani state is on the middle, and they cannot do anything about that.
Mm.
So right now, yes, they would have to gain some kind of independence and or at least self-governing and self-control.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they don't have a chance of surviving it.
And I'm not sure how much people are aware. Like Christians are somewhere in the green zone, I hear. Sorry, just
Now,
hold
there
on.
are very few.
So, in terms of Christians, they're they are pretty much tortured. And well, this is like I don't know what to say about this, but um
Well, it's simple. All of these Muslims do not like the Christians, much like they don't like the Jews. Therefore, you see the number of Christians right now all over the Middle East, all over the Middle East, from
Mhm.
I don't know Morocco all the way
Oh yeah.
to all the way to Turkey, including, are getting diluted and they are moving out. For example, the in the vicinity here, I can stop sharing the screen. In the vicinity here, you see. So if you look here in the West Bank,
Mhm.
Bethlehem used to be a Christian city.
Oh yes.
Under the Palestinian Authority, no
Mhm.
longer a Christian city. Christians have been driven out, have been moved, have been killed, whatever. Same thing is happening all over. It is happening in Syria, it is happening in Iraq, it is happening in any other place. Even in Lebanon, the Christians are not as strong. Look, Lebanon was established as a Christian state
Yeah, that's what I
by the
see.
French.
That's what I see. A lot of, people, who fled
Yeah,
Lebanon are talking about this. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it was a Christian state. It's no longer a Christian. It's the Shias that are fighting the Sunni in
Mm.
Lebanon. But the country was supposed to be a Christian state. The Christians made a mistake. The French asked them, "Do you want a small country that will all be Christian, or a large country with other minorities?" They voted for the large country, and that is the end of it. So right now, the Christians, the only place where the Christians are flourishing and feel safe and good is in the Jewish state.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Living under the Jews, the Christians are most protected and can flourish and can enjoy all liberties, human, civilian, freedom, everything as equal to the others. But that's the only place. All over the Middle East, they are being depressed. They are being in any way, shape, and form being harmed, not being allowed to practice their religion.
Hmm.
Nothing of that is happening. in the Middle East. That's the situation.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty awful. I know that you know of Douglas Murray, like he was talking about that, the situation of the Christians
yeah,
in Syria being horrible, really.
yeah, yeah.
So, but uh yeah, it's a very yeah, I guess that why why people think that, people understand what Hezbollah is about to Syria, and why the Assad regime just fled to Russia, like he fled to Russia. But anyway,
Well,
when I first saw the the I think, well, missile interceptions are not always perfect, and that's something the Japanese are scared of. And, it fell on, not on, but, nearby the airport and injured people.
yeah.
Um, it was
Mhm.
cruise missile, right? I guess. Not exactly.
These are not cruise missiles. These are ballistic missiles.
A ballistic missile.
A
Oh.
cruise, yeah, a ballistic missile means a missile that goes up uh, fast with an engine
Hmm.
and then ballistically falls down after it reaches the peak. It
Hmm.
falls down, not with an engine, but free fall. It gets to very high speed, and, and that's why it's called ballistic. It obeys Newton laws. A cruise missile is a missile that has its engine all the time working,
Mm.
and it is being guided by various guiding systems. It might
Oh,
be
yeah.
GPS, it might be inertial, it might be television, it might be both, it might be a lot of things are there.
Mm.
The Yemenis are not launching cruise missiles, they are launching ballistic missiles, and these ballistic missiles uh, are usually intercepted. You have to understand the amount of layers that you are looking upon. First of all, there are the American and allies ships sailing in the ocean around Yemen, and they would detect that in their systems and try to intercept them. Second thing, we have our own systems that detect the launching, detect the missile, and then we have multiple layers that try to intercept it. We have the Arrow 3, which is
Mm.
the highest and longest range of all, the Arrow 2 and the Arrow 1. All of them are aimed to intercept these ballistic missiles, long range,
Mm.
because the distance from Yemen to Israel is 2,000 kilometers.
Okay.
So we have time to intercept.
Mm.
Then we have another system that is good for the missiles of a range of a few hundred kilometers.
Mm.
We used to call it Magic Baton. Right now it's called David Sling. That's the second layer. And then of ours, so we have like Arrow 3, Arrow 2, Arrow 1, David Sling, and then Iron Dome
Oh.
for the short range missile. These are the things that we have. They work quite well, and we are during the war are all the time improving the software, improving the radar, improving the missiles, improving everything in order to make it better.
Mm.
But there is no system, not even Japanese systems,
Mm.
that is 100% proof. Even the Japanese cars that we buy sometimes break. Happens. That's the way it is. And Japanese, much like anybody else, need to accept that fact of life.
Yeah, so I guess that, the retaliated bombing was successful, and the airport is closed, in Yemen.
Yeah,
Permanently.
look, it's it's nice to say you have closed our airport for a few hours or a day, We will close your airport for a long time. Nice. But then you have to remember that this is an operation conducted 2,000 kilometers from base. Not easy
Oh,
for fighter jets. Not easy.
yeah,
It requires refueling. It requires a lot of things. You can do it on the air. Maybe you can do it on land. I don't know. But it's not an easy task. And then on the third hand, you can say that this is very good practice if we are to attack in Iran, because Iran is also far away, and maybe this is a good thing that
okay.
we have our forces practicing on such things so as to make perfect when time of need comes.
I see. I see. So, yeah, well,
But
I,
let me say this,
mhm,
you have to look at Yemen at a broader way. Yemen is a problem that the entire world is suffering from.
mhm,
The costs of shipping
mhm.
has gone and like maybe quadrupled itself.
Okay.
Okay, just the cost of shipping, because you can no longer go through the Suez Canal.
Hmm.
You have to go around Africa. This is another extra 10,000 kilometers. 10,000 kilometers. That's what
Yeah,
the Suez
that's,
Canal is saving you.
hmm.
You can't do that. This has a cost that the entire free world is paying. Why? Because of a bunch of Yemenis that are not happy with the situation in the world. Kill them, destroy everything, and tell the Iranians, if you're going to give them one missiles, we are going to destroy Iran. You have to be brutal. The
Hmm.
fact that you are trying to do that in a nice way is something that I cannot understand. The way to handle such things is brutal because it affects the entire world. The way that we stopped, by the way, in ancient time, like say the 18th century, how did you stop piracy? Piracy was stopped by brutal force. It gave each and every commander in the fleets of the free countries the piracy was stopped because the free nations decided that they are going to hang each and every pirate or kill them, even at high seas. And they gave each and every commander of a ship the authority that if he finds pirates, he is obliged to kill them, to execute them. Even if they surrender, they would have all of them death sentences to be executed thereupon, not to be brought to justice in the land or everything there. And that's what stopped piracy. You want to stop this new piracy,
Hmm.
like in Somalia, like in Yemen, be
Yeah,
brutal. If you won't be brutal, you will never stop it.
yeah, that's true. Well, I'm not exactly sure the United Nations talking about, but that's probably the case. Exactly. So,
The United Nations is a joke. It's not an organization worth discussing. It is an organization that is long overdue and irrelevant to any serious problem on the globe.
well, do you know that the embassy was attacked by the rocket missile in
Which embassy?
in Africa, but uh
Which embassy?
um it's I'm sorry, I just remember, but it's in the West Africa. Yes, like
Embassy of whom?
oh, Japan.
Of what country? Of Japan?
No, in one of the countries in the West Africa for sure, but I just
The Japanese embassy was attacked.
yeah. Well, and I guess
Okay,
that
so
it was, it became it's like it's a place where the French military is stationed. And so, like, the French military eventually came to support them. But, the ambassador there, he's the youngest ambassador of Japan. who was appointed according to what is told. But anyway, you know what he was complaining back in 2000, early 2000, was that Japan is paying like a lot of money to the United Nations. And, you know, we don't get to speak out at all, like compared to Russia and China. And, you know, they, like, you know, it's kind of like weird that, you know, Russia and China are, you know, both controlling the United Nations, and Japan is like, you know, just, you know, are told to pay.
Look, France and the United Kingdom have a veto right in the US Security Council.
Yeah.
India doesn't. Why? I would assume that India is a far more important country today
Hmm.
than
China.
the UK and France put together. Put
Okay.
together. Now, China is important because China is a major power. So
Mm,
if this should reflect on the power relations or power
mm.
ratios, then India should have had a seat there. Right
And that's
now,
true.
the uh, the thing reflects the way that power was distributed after World War One, not
Mm,
even after World War Two, and therefore the United Nations is an old, corrupt, not up to date organization that nobody is seriously looking upon it, except if you have a Security Council resolution that comes with sanctions. Other than that, totally irrelevant.
yeah, it's very true. It's very true. But anyways, I guess it's about time, and I really appreciate you
Yeah,
for uh
thank you very much,
coming
Rocco,
to
for
this
having
podcast.
me on your podcast.
Okay,
And
so I hope that, you know, you just come back another time to talk about the war again. Anyway.
let's hope that we will finish that, and the next conversation will be about the conclusions of the campaign and what we gained and what
Yes,
how did it
exactly.
change
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
things.
Mhm. Okay, so have a good day.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Well, I asked myself, okay, is Colonel Zamir the only person, or maybe 10%, 30% of the people? And, well, if we say we don't like military, that means peace. Well, it's not that simple. Like people might say, the opposite of evil is opposite of goodness. Well, it is in a sense, of course. I mean, it's not wrong about this, but at the same time, justifying the crime, okay, that is not good at all. It's very simple. And what happened throughout history is some kind of this discriminations against the Jewish people. And I am just so appalled that, you know, some people have total misconceptions um, and watch this war. I mean, this is about the interview or the podcast inviting Colonel Zamir, and I hope that you know, take his opinion, his views as a view of his own. But at the same time, it is very important to think of how important the sovereignty is and what having a nation means. It doesn't come with the right, it comes with a responsibility. And what happens if the current operation is a result of what has happened over the time? I mean, this has to end. October 7th, okay? Don't forget about it, really. I mean, people seem to forget everything and watch the propaganda like Al Jazeera and start to think, oh, maybe that was not true. Or maybe, because look what Al Jazeera posted, okay? this head chief, this head, this anchor of Al Jazeera posted, he celebrated October 7th. And don't forget about it. It's not difficult. Just don't get affected by the propaganda. And don't justify the crimes. Okay? I hope that you all have good night. And also, I hope that in Israel it's like in the late afternoon. So I hope you have a good evening. Or I hope you have a good day in the United States, as my friends do. Okay, so good night.